Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast. And today we have a dear friend back again. This is actually the third time. Creig Northrop, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here again. Third time's a charm. Let's do this.
So in your history, you've been the number one realtor in the U.S. three times. And if you count the Wall Street Journal, that's another three times. So that is, so you have a good sense of what's happening in the U.S. and the market. And before we went on air, you were telling me that in May, you had your best month ever in your 40-year career?
37. And fun fact about that is first of all, May is the number one month in real estate. I always say it's simply amazing. Second best month, if anybody could guess, would actually, it would surprise you, it's actually called October. We call it Rocktober. But within May, again, in real estate, it's not about what I do today to make tomorrow better. It's about what I do today to make the next 3 months better. And right. I think the thing I did differently this year than I've done in my career is in January, I was focused on making May my best month ever, but it started in January, right? It doesn't start now. So I just started doing opens. I created a luxury program for my agents. I started living luxury. I started, really kind of getting to know the luxury market even more intimate than I had done before. So what I've done is I've raised my average sales price up. So by doing that, I don't have to sell as many homes, and the quality of the sale is a lot higher, which the expectations of the client is a lot higher. So you have to learn to raise your expectations of yourself. And that's certainly what I did to get where I am.
So let's break that down a little bit. One of the things, maybe worldwide, but especially the US, it's like I want gratification and I want it now. And if I'm doing this work right now, I want to see the results now. But oftentimes in real estate, it's 3 months out, 6 months out where you start seeing the rewards. So how do you personally keep doing the right things continuously? And how do you help realtors that basically have that short-term thinking that I'm doing all this stuff, nothing's happening, to say, grasshopper, be patient. It will mature.
Hard. Yeah, it is hard. Look, to close the sale, I say it's really simple. It's called three things. And the three C's of closing a sale. If you drop the C from close, you lose the sale, right? So basically it's called care. You got to care first. People don't care what you know until you know what you care. I mean, care is probably the most important piece that no one can teach. Nice is a trait that you have, an ability to treat people, the way you would want to be treated. So I think that's the first thing. You got to fall in love with your clients.
Hold that thought right there. There is, I agree totally. And there's a way of curing where the client actually feels it. So let me give you an analogy first, and I'll come back to what we're talking about. If I go to an event that perhaps one of your people put on, if the event is flawless and amazing, it looks like the person that actually held the event didn't do anything. It just happened. But the reality is a lot of work went in to make it look magical and effortless. And so how do you cure in a way that your client feels it? It's like, oh my God, okay, Creig's doing stuff and I really get a sense that he cares, because you can have another realtor that's doing all the things in the background, but not really bringing it to the forefront. So the client thinks you're not really doing anything, if you know what I mean.
First of all, you need to be the trusted advisor. They need to trust you in your words, your actions, and your responses. Response is the new level of respect. The faster you respond, the more respect they feel, and the more trusted you become. So that's that part of care that makes a difference. I had a listing. I listed a property, high-end property, and they said, Creig, you just listed my property in 30 days. In 30 minutes. And I said, understanding that 37 years created that 30 minutes that I'm with you today to give you the best plan possible to sell your house. So understanding that, and my thing to that is knowledge is confidence, confidence is trust is sale. You got to have that knowledge first, right? You can care all we want, which is great, and it's a great trait, but you got to have the knowledge to what part care that the client wants, not what you want.
Absolutely. So caring was number one. Yes. What's number two? And then we'll go to three.
Yeah. 2 is consistency. The problem with realtors, to your point, it's called instant gratification. You go to McDonald's, you have a burger, you feel sick later. I mean, joking, but understanding that quick fix is not real estate. Real estate is not a sprint. It is totally a marathon. It's totally a relationship game. And you have to be consistent in your messages. So when you do a mailer and you don't get that first response and you just stop doing that mailer, well, you just stopped your whole plan, right? You can't, you gotta be consistent in your marketing, your message, and your trusted advisor advice, right? So that's really one of the things that we don't see in real estate. We get too caught up on the instant gratification or the this is not working, and we give up way too fast on the 99th yard line there, and you just stop. And ironically, had you gone one more piece more, or done one more thing, always call it one more, then I think you would find that results that people are looking for, but you just stop, and that's a problem. It's somebody gave me a pin. I have it in my pocket, ironically, called 111%,
Mm,
because 111% represents something that's not, infinity of a number. And what that means is that you're going above and beyond what is ever expected. You care more than most. You're being consistent. And the last one is confidence. You got to have confidence.
okay.
I don't want to hire, especially in the luxury market, anyone that doesn't have confidence that they know their profession better than I do. You should always know it better than the consumer. You should be able to do more than the consumer ever could do to sell their house. And you should be able to have the knowledge of the value of that property. You shouldn't be in it. The one thing that drives me crazy is when agents go in and they go, well, I don't know what the value of this property is. I'll get back to you. Well, guess what? You will lose a listing if I come out behind you.
Interesting. So I'm going to go take one step back to that consistency piece. It kind of reminds me of that movie, The Karate Kid, where
Yes.
the guy is wax on, wax off,
There's a
paint
new
the
one of that
pants.
coming out. I haven't seen it, but yeah, there's a new one now.
I suspect it'll be a sad offering. That's just my guess. But
Yeah.
that's what real estate is about. It's like, okay, I need you to do these tasks in a consistent way. And I guarantee, with 37 years of experience and hundreds of realtors that have been successful, this is the formula. It doesn't take super intelligence, it just takes dedication. And people will say, Craig, I get that. And at the same time, they don't want to get it. Like, it's so easy to say, oh yeah, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to do this. So when you meet new agents coming in, sometimes do you get a sense of, yeah, this person's gonna this person's got what it takes. Like, do you get a sense of that when you meet them? And other people, you're hopeful, and other people is like, I know this is not going to work out.
Yeah, well, when I meet people, it's called hunger and humble,
Mm,
right? Hunger and humble. They're the ones that I can mold, called lifetime learners, and are coachable. If you're not coachable, it's not the right profession for you. It really isn't. And you want a good mentor. I've had great mentors, Wes Foster, my mother. I've had great mentors in my life. I've been blessed. And we have 400 agents, 16 offices. So we have a lot of good people that have been with us a long time. And we have 5,700 five-star Zillow reviews. So we do really good service. We're number one in the nation for that as well. And so, if I'm a new agent, I either want to get on a team, which is one conversation. We used to be
mm.
a team, and you have a good built-in mentor, or Northrop Realty is a brokerage that has mentorships and team. We run it like a team, where you can get learning and growing. And our average agent does like $7 million. I mean, it's a really good place to grow your business.
Superb. One of your people that work for you is a troublemaker. Her name is Elaine Northrop.
Ah, yes.
So that's your mom. And the reason I mention it is we've done 420 plus interviews. And one of the ones that stands out is the one with your mom. And what I remember, although it was like maybe 5 years ago I did the interview, is that she came into the industry and she said she was a complete failure till she got the insight. It's not about me, it's about the customer. And when she got that, and to get to that insight, it was her boss basically saying, you are not cut out for real estate. This is not for you, but I want to be compassionate. So I'm going to give you an assessment. What is the best career for you? And the results comes back a realtor.
Uh,
And that come to Jesus moment allowed her to kind of go, oh, I need to focus on the customer, not me. And that's when her career took off. So, amazing lady. How did her being in the business inform you on how real estate should be done?
well, it's interesting. First of all, my mother found out first 6 months she didn't sell a house. It was very, very challenging.
Mm.
uh, she raised me on the understanding that you can conceive it, you can believe it, you can achieve it. And so, when I grew up like that, it was definitely a lot more mindset. We buy E&O insurance, and E&O insurance is supposed to protect you. Well, it also should enhance you. It's called enthusiasm and optimism. And I
Yes.
think that's what's lacking in the real estate marketplace right now. We go like a roller coaster. If we could get the consistency and be straight across, that would be better. But most importantly is if you learn to interpret the needs better than anyone else of your client, you will be very successful in real estate. And my mother understood that after a while. You don't get that right in the beginning.
Right.
It all became about them, not about her. And I think the only other difference is she also echoed that with great marketing and people know she's not a secret agent. And I think that complement of both. She was an English teacher, so she created. She didn't have Facebooks and all this other stuff. She created images through writing, like Nicholas Sparks, where you could read it and visualize
Yes.
it. That's how good she was, and that's what her mark to fame was.
So there's a few points there. Number one, some of the most successful CEOs that I know were teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
Born
like
realtors.
so.
And
So
teachers and nurses, sorry, teachers and nurses are the best two real estate agents. And you know what? I've also found possibly bartenders because they have that interactive, caring nature of the client, of the person that they're serving.
but CEOs, what's kind of interesting is when I talk to them, is like, how did your being a teacher in elementary school help you with this? And it's like, my VPs are like children, and I use the same techniques to get them to align and give the best sell. So a that, and number two, one of the things you had mentioned was that great agents are learning all the time. And one of the stories your mom had told me was there was another woman that was a realtor that started writing these really great descriptions of houses, like this is the magical castle where you and your family. And she says, I saw that and I started doing it. And I think that's another trait that great leaders have, realtors have, is we're always learning, looking for how can I be better at doing things.
Correct. Yeah.
So one of the things you mentioned was mindset, and that's one of the problems that I want to address and fix. And I had mentioned that in 2021 I sold my house, got rid of all my possessions, and started traveling the world. And this is why I did it. I had a thought: have I made an impact in the world? And the answer was no. And I said, if I stay in my comfortable house with my comfortable clients and my comfortable life, nothing is going to change. So within a month, I sold the house and I went on a quest. How can I make an impact in the world? And the answer that came up was something called mindset boosters. And we're just about to release that. It's coming to, and I'm going to send you a demo copy of it today. It goes on your phone. And in the morning where you feel like there's anxiety from what's happening at home, within 5 minutes, you can change that to motivation. Or if you've got call reluctance where you don't want to pick up the phone, it uses NLP. You listen to a 7-minute track and it removes the fear and you just start making your calls. So it's my gift to the world of giving people the power of mindset in the palm of their hand. So within 5 minutes, you can change whatever you need to change and move on. And I think this is going to be really, really useful for realtors, especially because it's all a mindset game. You're working on your own, and the biggest enemy is not your competition. It's what's happening in your mind at the moment.
Well, interesting 2 points to unpack that real quick. First of all, 97% of your thoughts are negative. That's the problem, right?
Mhm.
So I 100% agree, and I love your idea. The second thing is when the recession came in 2008, I took everyone to a movie called Invincible, which was about Papali. It's a true story about the guy that all the adversity exposes character, I always say. And so ends up, basically he gets through. It's a true story, and he gets first walk on, oldest gentleman to play in the NFL as a walk on, right?
Right.
So anyway, long and short of it is when we went into that movie, we were worried about the world, we were worried about the economy, we were worried about the stock market, all of which we could not control. And I told him that. I said, the only thing you can control is what sits between your two ears. And you got to walk out that way. We put our focus on, we knocked out all the distractions. And it wasn't a lot of us. I want to say it was 20 plus people. It wasn't 200. It wasn't something crazy. 20 people just did the best they could. And we became number one in the nation because of it, because of the mindset matters. So, yeah.
That's like awesome. And I think one of the nice things about using movies as a metaphor
Hmm.
is that you can say the exact same thing and it carries a certain amount of weight. You're their leader and they respect you. But when you get on the same side of the table and you see something that has been choreographed with music and story, and people see it unfold, and it's like, I get that, I want that. And so oftentimes when I'm doing leadership retreats, I'll have clips from movies, and there's such a powerful tool. So there was like doom and gloom at that point, and then there was also doom and gloom when the pandemic hit. And I think the last time we spoke, you had said that that was the second best time in your career for being successful was when the world was shutting down. So when there is, I'm going to use an old quote. I can't remember who said it. When there's blood in the streets, there's money to be made.
That's good. Yes. So it was interesting there because think about it. People were quarantined to their homes basically, and if you think about that, that's what we sell. We sell the biggest asset, period. And what they found was people never really lived in their house more. You live there, you go home, you sleep, you go back. Like your house was used more like just a place to hang your hat, not
I'm a boarder. I'm just coming home
that's
at
it. It
the
really
weekend.
was. And so it was interesting once you put a person in the house that have to stay there for 6 months or thereof, you start learning that you need different things in a house, right? You need your outdoor spaces become more valuable. There's a lot of things that have changed over time. And so what we came from was taking something negative and making it very, very positive that, listen, we sell the American dream. You can enjoy your life in your home, and where do you want to quarantine next? That's what I always said about that
Oh, I
when
love that.
where do we want to quarantine next? Because if it's not where you are or you're comfortable, look, I could have got you a pillow, a blanket. You were really comfortable when I saw you last. Great job. You got to get uncomfortable, and I think that's really what the pandemic did for us. And I think it's who didn't freak out. I think our markets are going to consistently go through changes. We went through 9/11. We went through the recessions or whatever, the big stock issue in 2008. We went through the COVID. We've been through the big stuff. Anything else really should be kind of minor in what you do, but you got to believe that you're at the right place at the right time and meet each client and each agent at where they are at their time, and be relevant and be valuable to them.
Thank you for sharing that. That I actually never actually thought of it that way. That they're in their home for the first time and they're seeing what needs to be better. I never kind of connected the two dots. So thank you for that. But I'll tell you an interesting little anecdote. I was interviewing this guy who runs a university program on professional selling, and so he's on the podcast, and he says, my current students are, and in my mind, lazy, entitled, blah, 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 blah. All negative stuff is what I'm thinking. And he says, the most driven, focused people I've had in my entire career. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you talking about? Like, why? He says, because they went through the '07, '08 crisis when they were 6 and 7 years old, and their parents were losing jobs. There was food instability, and they grew up like depression people
Hmm.
from the depression. And it was like, no one's going to help me. It's up to myself. So it created this whole mentality of we're driven, we're going to succeed, which I thought, super interesting. And then it made me think of the pandemic. Like before the pandemic, if you ask someone, what's the most important thing to you? Oh, it's family, friends, and work. But the reality was it was work was the most important, and the other two was secondary. But on that pandemic, we were in our house, we had breakfast, we had lunch, we had dinner, and I'm wondering, those kids that are 5, 6, 7, they're gonna grow up with this is what family means. And so it'll be interesting what happens when they become adults. That family is going to be like an important element to them that wasn't as important to previous generations. Kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got caught up in so much work and not. You got to slow it down. I met a
Yeah.
lot of physicians and lawyers and all that said it was actually the best thing to happen because the reason it was so successful, ironically, was it slowed everyone down. Like you weren't the one just slowing down; everyone slowed down. So by slowing everyone down, it gave the reason to be able to slow down. Like
Yeah.
it's like anything else when the seller says my house isn't sold, but I say, well, your neighbors isn't sold yet either. Okay, that makes me feel better. Follow me? It's the same concept of when you know that everyone else is on the same page, you ultimately grow through it together. And I think that's what happened with the pandemic, and it was one of the best things I think ever happened. It was amazing. I did my first FaceTime listing when it first happened. I never did a FaceTime listing before. Like I've done so many different things that way, and I've had to get used to also remote work because the agents now are working a lot more remotely. But to be honest, the problem with that is you got to fight culture, right? Is people culture, or is it you being the culture? And I think that's the thing that we've kind of balanced a little bit. I've always still been in the office. I still believe in the office, but there are others that have got comfortable at home, and I think that mind shift is going to be an interesting thing. I think as we continue to get through and grow through this market.
Yeah, it was almost as if the internet gods asked, like the guy who headed up Zoom said, please God help
Oh
me
my God!
accelerate this, and God said, okay, a pandemic.
Right.
But I think I say that just joking, but I think it just changed the world fundamentally because before that you had to be in my presence, Craig, to get this massive breakthrough. Because I'm an expert in NLP and applied neuroscience, and that forced me to go to Zoom. And I realized, hey, my outcomes are better on Zoom because I'm just get rid of all the fluff. It's like, hey, what's the problem, Craig? Oh, you got this belief, let's change it. And it was like more focused, more directed. And I think for a lot of people realize that my market doesn't have to be 30 miles around me. My market is 25,000 miles around me, which is the entire world, which I think it set up this AI revolution perfectly because all of a sudden we realize that we can be remote and still be functional.
I think it's great. I think we all talk about the AI. Listen, everybody, it's sexy. It's the conversation, and I think it helps in all we do. So listen, I'm not. I asked the president of the hospital. I said, why can't AI just figure out every illness of every problem and fix it? Right? It's but the reason is it requires human interaction. It
Mm.
requires human real estate's human relationships. It's not. It's a trusted advisor. A trusted advisor is not going to trust the technology. They will trust certain systems of technology, but they will not trust the computer to tell you should I buy this house or not. Because at the end of the day, the human soul has a soul, and that soul can't be replaced by technology.
So, but let's talk about AI in terms of Craig, let's give me like a timeline. Is it the previous 3 years, 2 years? How has AI come into your business, into your brokerage, and what elements of it do you use, and what are the benefits of that? Because it augments who we are. So, how is it augmenting Northrop Realty in a way that makes you guys better, stronger, faster?
I think there's a professionalism side of it. I think there's a research piece of it that takes away a lot of that, where you can kind of get answers even quicker than you used to with the internet.
Mm.
And I think there's a level of growth that we can learn from that piece of the puzzle. But I don't I don't believe and hasn't run our business. It helps enhance our business. It's like I tell a seller. This a seller goes to me, Craig, I added bushes and I added floors and beautiful stuff in my house. I said, great, you enhanced the value, but you didn't raise the value. And I think AI does that. I think it enhances the value of what we do, but it doesn't raise our level of trusted advisor that the client is hiring us for.
One of the things that, just taking a sidestep slightly, we have a lot of veterans coming back that have psychological issues. And no matter what the Defense Department says, if you're a soldier and you say, hey, I've got these issues going on, the message is, we're here for you, we're going to look after you, but it impacts their career. And so they started using these AI driven therapists. And one of the nice things is that these soldiers open up to the AI more readily and get to solution faster, because when they're opening up to a real therapist, like, you haven't been to war, you don't understand. So it gives them the permission to engage more openly. And I'm surprised that a lot more agents don't use AI to have that coach right there with them in terms of, like, when I was driving to the city yesterday, I just kind of switch on the audio version of ChatGPT. It's like, hey, I call her Jeannie. Jeannie, I need to write an article on the alpha brainwave state of the brain. And I'm thinking, I need to talk about this and this, other things that I'm missing. And it's like, oh, Umar, yeah, these two things would be really good. It's like, oh, well, how would I best create that? And it's just a dialogue that is not doing the work for me, but it's giving me insights. So I'm wondering, are any of your agents kind of having that kind of coaching going on that's on demand and it's just a short kind of thing? Uh,
I do believe so. I think it's helped grow in the social media world. I think it's
mm,
helped grow in the description world. I think it certainly has brought a level of professionalism because AI is a little smarter than us sometimes. I mean, that's how I'd say it. I mean, and that's a compliment. It's how you use it. I don't believe on living on it. I think that's
Agreed.
a mistake. I think it's very generic. You don't just buy the logo; you buy the reason of the logo, right? It's not, it's there has to in order for AI to be very successful, there has to be a human element to it, and I think you can tell when it's not.
So as we come into this AI world, because I think this world is going to change fundamentally in the next 10 years, it'll be unrecognizable because at $20,000 a pop to get a robot in your house to do a lot of the chores is going to be there. A lot of companies will use robotics to do a lot of things. So a lot of people are going to have to figure out what they need to be doing as opposed to what they were doing. And AI is going to be our best friend, but I think we're going to start losing that human connection. So, what's going to separate people that thrive in this, that we step deeper into our humanity and get a better understanding of who we are? And that will allow us to have those rich relationships because having a relationship with the AI is going to be so attractive because there's no judgment. It knows me. It knows that I like talking about this and it compliments me. It'll be like the perfect mate. So I think we need to connect back to humanity is going to be what separates great agents from agents that rely too much on that.
It's funny you say that because I had a conversation with the head of a guy that runs a bank, and he said, "Oh my God, AI is going to put us out of business." He said, any teller could be, AI could take care of the teller, right? He said, but what's never going to change is good salesmanship, good
Mm.
sales. Salespeople will rise through this because people are going to want this human interaction even more when the AI can do everything else, right? Let the AI do the basics, and you can't. Salespeople and humanity, to your point, and caring, and is going to rise above, and that's really what's going to excel into what's making it's going to make the difference, right? And he said, Craig, you have nothing to worry about. I appreciate the compliment, but the point is that's what he said that we're going to go to. The ones that are just showing up doing their job, AI can do it better. The ones that are showing up wanting to do more in their job and giving more to the people that they're working with and or for are going to be the ones that excel in the future. And that's where, again, you go to this 111 thing pin.
And
Right?
yeah.
You got it, right? So it just goes right there because this is what's going to thrive you through that.
So one of the things that's kind of a simple thing to do for your spouse, for your kids, for your customers, for your employees is I call it attending. And attending is when I go, Craig, you're the most important person in the world right now in this moment. I don't say it, but I look at you and I pay full attention. And when I do that, it is such an, a powerful gift to another human being because it's such a rare thing these days.
Hmm.
Like
You bring up such a good point. I mean, obviously, I have a psychology background. You have a neurology background. And I call it a listening appointment. So every time I go on an appointment, it's a listening. You get one. I mean, I use 1 hour. It's very similar to therapy, but 1 hour of my full attention. I will. It's about you, nothing else. People know where I am, but I am not focused on anything else. I will not pick up my phones. I will not look at emails. I will not look at it's about you. And if you don't do that, you will not be successful in any sales career because again, the problem is it's not about what your schedule is. It's about who they are, what their schedule is, and what you can do for them. Interpret the needs of the client better than anyone else. And again, you'll be successful regardless of AI, regardless of recessions, regardless of pandemics. You will be successful.
So, Craig, before we part this conversation, which I'm really enjoying, is two questions. One, in this new world of AI, and as we move forward, do you think there's going to be a culling of the real estate world in terms of the agents that are human focused, connected, knowledgeable, learning are going to basically start taking up more and more market share? And the people that are just going through the motions, do you think there's going to be a culling, or will they always be 500,000 agents in the US?
I think the pie is going to get smaller. We're just going to take more of it. Hence why I had my best month in my career, is because I'm very much a relationship agent. And I think people will demand it more. People will try the typical agent that does the three Ps. They put up a sign, they pay them less, and they pray. They'll try it if there's a cost savings. But then they'll realize that the cost savings doesn't get them what they really want. And you save $1 to lose $25. It's crazy how people don't understand that. But the answer is the cream's always going to rise to the top. The good salespeople that care about people, that are consistent in their message and confidence, are going to succeed in this marketplace.
Last question is, as you go into this brave new world and you've got agents, what's the one thing, if you could instill in everyone's heart in your organization, what would that one sentiment or thought or behavior be that if you could do that, you would have done a fantastic job?
Empathy. Empathy is the most powerful word in the real estate. I believe in real estate. Being able to put yourself in other people's shoes, understand where they're going through, and then be able to adapt to who they are, right? And meet the person, meet the client where they are in their life, and be that person, that trusted advisor that can get them to where they need to go. And that's really what's been my ability up to this point. It's why I love what I do, and I love helping people. And I think you got to have that want.
Absolutely. Craig, thank you so much for an insightful interview today. Really enjoyed it and looking forward to your next visit.
You got it. Have a great day.